Whatever you like. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome to GBN Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Breaking story in this past hour. Horror at the Liverpool Trophy Victory Parade as a car collides with the crowd. We'll have a full update on that story and a statement from Merseyside Police. Elsewhere in today's news.
In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
And that was JD Vance just a few months ago, certainly putting the cat amongst the pigeons on free speech in Britain, making his stance very, very clear. And today we learned the White House is monitoring the case of Lucy Connolly, denied release from prison over a tweet, accused of stirring up a racial hatred. Elsewhere, Chagosian migrants are moving to Britain en masse over Sir Keir Starmer's deal to hand over their homeland to Mauritius. But could there be a political plot twist that nobody saw coming? Because could a growing band of exiled Chagosians transform into a political ground game to help Nigel Farage win the next general election? Plus,
by standard attire, a suit, a collar and tie. That would be inappropriate attire for those people, and they would find it extremely offensive.
New heights of absurdity have been hit after a Labour councillor ties himself in knots, claiming a shirt and tie dress codes are offensive to ethnic and religious groups. I'll be joined by the Reform councillor who's called him out. Well, the show, it's a pleasure to have your company on this bank holiday Monday evening. Full update on that collision between a car and the Liverpool Victory Parade shortly. Get in touch the usual ways, gbnews.com/your say. But now it's time for your headlines, and here is Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and good evening to you. Let's bring you an update then on what we now know regarding that incident in Liverpool tonight, that a number of people have been injured in the city centre during celebrations for the club's Premier League title win. Merseyside police saying in the last few minutes they are dealing with reports of what they are calling a road traffic collision on Water Street after a car hit several pedestrians just around 6 o'clock this evening, an hour or so ago. A man has been detained and the vehicle stopped at the scene. Footage showing multiple ambulances and what appears to be an air ambulance attending the scene. We have received a statement from Merseyside police saying, quote, "We are currently dealing with reports of a road traffic collision in Liverpool city centre. The car stopped at the scene, a man has been detained and emergency services are currently on scene." They are saying, Merseyside police that is, that they will issue more updates as the evening continues. So do stay with us for more on this developing story. In other news tonight, the government's under fire over its U-turn on winter fuel payments, while Labour is also facing pressure to axe the two-child benefit cap. It could cost the Treasury up to £5 billion if both policies are reversed. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has hinted an announcement could come on the 11th of June with the Chancellor's spending review. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage of Reform UK has said that if his party gains ground, he will scrap both policies. King Charles and Queen Camilla have arrived in Ottawa tonight for a two-day visit, seen as a powerful gesture of support for Canada amid US pressure to become the 51st American state. They were met on the runway earlier by the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, with red-jacketed Mounties, First Nation drummers and cheering schoolchildren lining their welcome. The highlight will be the King's speech from the throne on Tuesday. That's the first by a monarch in nearly 50 years, expected to defend Canada's sovereignty and reject Donald Trump's recent claims. A royal source says Charles is skilled in walking with that diplomatic tightrope, balancing his UK and Canadian roles. Mark Carney has already made the message clear, saying Canada is not for sale. That's it from me for now. I'll hand you straight back to Martin.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam, and welcome back to GBN Tonight with me, your host this evening, Martin Daubney. Now, returning to that concerning breaking news story that a car has rammed through the crowd at the trophy parade celebrating Liverpool's Premier League victory. An eyewitness told GB News a car has just rammed through the crowd in the city centre near Dale Street and Water Street. And in a statement, Merseyside police told GB News this: "We are currently dealing with reports of a road traffic collision in Liverpool city centre. We were contacted at just after 6 p.m. today, Monday the 26th of May, following reports a car had been in collision with a number of pedestrians on Water Street. And the car stopped at the scene and a male has been detained. Emergency services are currently on the scene and we will issue more updates as we have them." Well, joining me now to discuss this is Graham Wetton. He's a former Metropolitan Police officer. Graham, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. A very alarming and serious situation. A lot of graphic footage circulating on social media of this collision. Clearly seems to show, we don't know anything about the motive yet, and we must not speculate, of course, but it seems to show a substantial collision between a car and a number of pedestrians on this victory parade.
Yeah, good evening, Martin. Yeah, very worrying information coming out of Liverpool. Victory parade. Those are normally fairly well cordoned off in most areas, depending how long it is. And again, I don't know the full details. It's too early yet to have had a look at the map, the route that the bus was taking, where the pedestrians were, the access for vehicles, if there were roads closed off, how the roads were closed off if they were. So they're normally the safety measures that are put in place at these sort of victory parades. And we've seen other victory parades in other areas over the last couple of days for various football clubs celebrating their victories. But again, somehow or somewhere, this car has managed to come through, if there were any barriers, come through any barriers and then come into and be in collision with the pedestrians. Still waiting for updates from Merseyside Police, but very worrying information and scenes coming out of Liverpool tonight.
And some of the footage too graphic for us to show on the television, but the footage we did see on our screen there, Graham Wetton, is of a substantial police response. We can see officers in high-vis vests on duty swarming around that vehicle as it reached a standstill. It appears to be like a long people carrier type vehicle, perhaps a small van. For those who can't see the pictures, are listening on radio, but there's got to be at least 40, 50 police officers there around that vehicle. But you're exactly right. As you can see on your screen there, look, a huge police presence, as you'd expect out of such a live event. But you're exactly right, Graham Wetton. There'll be a lot of questions asked about how a vehicle could simply be driven into this area.
Yeah, you see huge crowds there, and again, a significant police response running towards the vehicle. All the yellow jackets will be the police officers there, going towards the actual vehicle itself. And you're right, it looks like a fairly significant sized vehicle. So it's not a small vehicle, but it's clearly come to collision with some of the pedestrians there. Huge emergency service response. Very early times yet to start speculating as to the cause. My understanding so far, and prompt information from Merseyside Police, that the car actually stopped at the scene and a male has been detained. So again, they have the driver of the vehicle detained. So clearly there's an avenue there to investigate as to how they got where they were and what their motive, what their intention was.
Again, some of the footage simply too graphic to broadcast. The car appears to strike one individual first and then carries on into a crowd. The vehicle seems to have come to a standstill simply because it ran into a crowd and ran out of anywhere to go. And at that point, Graham Wetton, obviously thousands and thousands of, well, until this point, jubilant fans on the streets flocking around the vehicle. And then at that point, of course, the emergency services, the police officers coming in, not only to detain and arrest the individual, but presumably to try and save his life.
Yeah, that'll be one of the concerns, yeah, to try and get in there and actually get the vehicle, make sure the vehicle is stopped and it is secure, because as people move away, cars don't tend to stop just because a person or a couple of people in the way of them. Cars are quite, heavy vehicles, can cause significant injury, can drive through crowds of people, as we've seen in other places, in other locations. So the officers are trying to get there to make sure the vehicle has stopped. The driver isn't going to drive away anywhere else and run over anybody else. So the element of danger to the members of the public in the crowd to stop anything further from happening. And again, secure the driver, remove them from the scene. Bit of element of safety for the driver, yes, you're right. But again, they want to know what's happened, how they've actually got to this stage, motive, intention, how they got to be in that crowd of people, what route they took. So they'll now be looking for, treat the injured people first of all, then start speaking to numerous witnesses that are at scene, where that car entered, how far it's driven, how far it's travelled, who it's been in collision with, anything said, anything done, those sort of things, basic investigative practices from now, and they'll be happening as we're talking.
And of course, Graham Wetton, a hugely logistical issue here of getting the injured away for treatment, for safety. Of course, getting emergency vehicles in will be incredibly demanding with such crowds. So operationally, Graham, what would be the method of dealing with this here? Just watching the footage here, it's really quite startling footage. Yeah. An air ambulance, I believe, went in because clearly that's a direct route in, a fast method of removal to a local hospital as quickly as possible. But getting emergency vehicles in there through those crowds would have been a huge challenge in itself.
It would, yes. They'd have to clear. They'd like to try and clear the members of the public who are there. A route, to clear them from a route they will identify for the emergency vehicles like ambulances to travel into the area, and then an exit route, an egress route for them. So clear a path for emergency service vehicles so they can reach the scene as quickly as possible, because time really does matter in these cases. If the air ambulance was coming in, they'd have to clear a safe area for that to land and then get the crew to the scene so they can actually use their professionalism, their expertise at the scene to only seriously injured people. But that's a key factor when you deal with these incidents. And they're very quick, very spontaneous. Is almost like keeping a calm head when you're on scene, identifying a suitable location to get the paramedics, the ambulance vehicles, and that numerous vehicles will be travelling to the scene. So a clear route in and a fast route to the nearest hospital, but trying to get the public to stay away, so no more people to come to the scene, but stay away from the area so the emergency services can access that location and then leave it as quickly as possible with those injured people.
In fact, Graham Wetton, bear with me, please, because we do have a statement. We've just received it from a North West Ambulance Service spokesperson, said this. NWAS, North West Ambulance Service, is supporting an incident in Liverpool city centre following reports of a road traffic collision. We are currently assessing the situation and working with other members of the emergency services. Our priority is to ensure people receive the medical help they need as quickly as possible. And updates will be published on this page and Mersey Police as we know more. So again, a standard statement there. Obviously, they're just trying to get some information out. Graham Wetton, operationally now, clearly this individual has been detained. He'll be arrested, you think fairly rapidly charged. Again, we don't know anything about the motive. That will come out under questioning. How might this work operationally now moving forward?
I don't think you'll see a rapid charge. That these things can take some time. They can be held for up to 24 hours initially. Then they can get warrants of further detention. So it almost, once we've dealt with the casualties, secure the scene first of all to make sure you secured all the evidence, including the vehicle, the route taken, all CCTV evidence, etc., will be downloaded. Any witnesses, as I mentioned, number of witnesses, there's huge crowds. So number of people, mobile phone downloads, etc. So quite a long investigative process, potentially. But they do have the driver of the vehicle arrested. He will then go into interviews, probably maybe even one interview tonight, then likely to go into a rest period, and then maybe interviews tomorrow. So I'm not expecting any charges anytime soon from this, if any do arise. But a slower process now, investigative perspective, but they need to secure, once they've secured the scene, your priority has to then be the casualties, to get the casualties as quickly as possible to hospitals and get them treated. So I would imagine an hour and 15 minutes after this first broke, still trying to get people to hospitals and get them treated. So the suspect, to a certain degree, will take a slightly backward step here. Investigatively, they'll probably have him at the police station by now. Booking in procedure can take up to about an hour or so. So then you've got to call a solicitor out, get some form of assessment done. So it can take some time before you even get into an interview room.
Yeah, and as I said, nobody should leap to any methods or reasons. There is the possibility it's just simply a vehicle out of control. There's all kinds of evidence will be analysed, and I'm imagining, Graham Wetton, central to that. This is a very, very heavily filmed part of Liverpool city centre, as indeed any city centre is, piecing together CCTV imagery, methodically, meticulously trying to backtrack where that vehicle came from, its origin, how it accessed what you think would be an area completely shut off and isolated from road traffic like this. So very much now exhaustive and a huge trail of evidence being pieced together bit by bit.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and again, you mentioned it's the city centre, the number of people with mobile phones, etc. So a huge amount of potential evidence and information the investigation team will have to go through. Just looking at the route the vehicle took in, was there anything obstructing it? Was it even in the area before the parade took place? Or is it someone that's returned to their vehicle, picked it up? So it's in an area that's potentially been ostensibly cleared, but maybe there were just a couple, a barrier or two it had to go through to reach the crowd itself. So a number of avenues for the investigation teams to look at with the suspect. But as I mentioned earlier, your prime concern at the moment, an hour and 15, 20 minutes into this, is just making sure that scene is secure, moving people away, getting them clear so the ambulances, the paramedics can come in, treat people, identify the hospitals they're going to, and make sure they get a clear run there. So it's still the scene is the focus here. The suspect's likely to be placed into a police vehicle and taken to a police station by now. So we're now focusing on seeing the injured parties and speaking to witnesses, looking at people, speaking to people, who saw what, where did the vehicle come from, anything said or done, the estimates around speed, the noise of the engine, braking, etc. They want to know everything, the full facts of what happened before this awful incident took place. So huge number of witnesses to speak to, huge number potentially of CCTV cameras with evidential footage that has to be looked at, and pinning down the actual time the vehicle came in, what time it started, where did it come in from, the route it took, and how it actually eventually stopped. Did it stop of either mechanical reasons, or did the driver stop it? Or was it just literally the crowd around it or the police officers running towards it? So a number of factors that need to be clarified. by those on scene. Still early stages there. Wrong to speculate about any motive or intention or the cause of this. That's the job of the investigation team, by speaking to witnesses, the driver, and then looking at the evidential CCTV evidence to see if we can match it all together.
And Graham Wetton, the imagery we have, which is taken by a bystander, by somebody. There were thousands of fans, not only at ground level, but also in the office blocks, the residential area. Well, it's primarily city centre, central business district, and there are, I see here, 5, 6, 7 stories high, these blocks. And a lot of this footage was taken from people inside those places, looking down, expecting, of course, to be filming a jubilant victory parade, and they almost inadvertently caught what now looks increasingly like a tragic incident. So there will be an immense amount of people and evidence now, probably, which will all be pulled together by the police to piece this all together. And just to repeat, some of this imagery on social media is incredibly graphic.
Yeah, and I warn people maybe before they start looking on social media at some of the images, because right, there are some graphic stuff out there. I would imagine Merseyside Police at some point in the next few hours will either put a link up for people to download stuff, or put an appeal out for people with any evidence, information, etc., to submit it to them so they can have a look at it. But probably an appeal to stop sharing it. Bear in mind there'll be people with friends and loved ones who have gone to this celebration, and they'll be probably drastically trying to get in touch with people to see if they're well, etc. So again, you have to be careful what you share on social media, because clearly it could be people who recognise loved ones, haven't heard from them, and are extremely concerned about it. That's an aspect the police has to manage very carefully, is letting people know when someone, a loved one, etc., a family member is potentially involved in this and potentially injured, is getting to them first, informing them with a police officer, rather than seeing something on either a TV screen or on social media footage. That can be exceptionally distressing for them.
And as we've seen in previous incidents where a vehicle ends up becoming effectively a moving weapon like this, there'll be a huge investigation into that vehicle's origin, who owns it, was it hired? Again, the vehicle itself, crucial piece of evidence now.
Yeah, it is, and if it hasn't already been secured, which I imagine it would be, there'd be a cordon of police officers around it and tape around it. That's likely to be very carefully removed from the scene, forensically investigated. The actual mechanics of the vehicle will be checked and tested, but everything will be done very slow time now, once they've managed the actual scene itself and those injured. So there's likely to be literally an inner cordon around that vehicle once all the casualties have been removed, once the ambulance service personnel have left the scene. That vehicle will be taken away, removed, slow time, investigated properly, forensically investigated, but also mechanically examined just to see if we can establish the actual cause of this awful incident tonight.
Yeah, multiple injuries are now reported, and that's completely unsurprising when you see some of this footage. Driven at relatively high speed initially, and then basically going through the crowd, and was slowing down due to the sheer volume of bodies this car came into contact with. When you see the footage, it then appears to grind to a halt. It was then surrounded by first revelers in the crowd, and then, as we said, the emergency services, to be absolute credit to them, Graham Wetton, a substantial police operation in a very, very quick time, surrounding that vehicle, helping to secure it, helping to calm and pacify people. So fair play to the police. They were on the scene there very, very rapidly.
Yes, I would expect them to be that. You react to these things very quickly. Your training kicks in, your professionalism. You understand it's almost like you've got a crime scene as well. You've got someone in the vehicle that you need to detain and secure and make sure they are safe as well. You've got injured persons there, a number of injured persons that needs first aid as well and treatment. You need to make sure you clear a path for ambulance service and emergency service personnel. They're going to try and get to you as well. So a number of things to deal with. As you mentioned, the officers running straight towards the scene, straight towards the vehicle itself. trying to keep people away from the vehicle, moving away, making it safe and secure for the emergency services to work in that area, and safe and secure to deal with the people that have been injured by this awful incident. So, credit to Merseyside police officers on duty running straight towards that actual incident and dealing with it as quickly as they have. We're now going to wait now for more information to come out, so updated information, but so far, very, very quickly out with brief details. A car was in collision with pedestrians, the car's been stopped at the scene, and the male's been detained. So that came out within an hour, so very, very swift response as well, and also one from the ambulance service as well to say exactly what they're dealing with. But huge number of emergency service personnel now on scene dealing with this.
If you're just tuning in to GB News Tonight, it's just to quickly bring you up to speed of breaking news. In this past hour, a car has struck the Liverpool Victory Parade. Social media imagery of a vehicle moving at some speed, hitting into the crowd, knocking bodies flying before ploughing into a crowd and then grinding to a halt, surrounded by first revellers and then a substantial police response. And we've just received an alert from PA, the news agency, saying the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is being kept updated about events in Liverpool after a car collided with pedestrians in the city centre. So the Prime Minister now being briefed on what is a very rapid moving situation. And just to bring you up to speed, if you're joining us on GB News Tonight, a man has been detained. That vehicle has now been secured. And I'm joined by the former Metropolitan Police Officer, Graham Wetton, who's just trying to get across how meticulous and forensic the information gathering will be now. And just to give people an understanding who are tuning in, Graham, about what happens next. People are very keen to know motives, names, details like that. But of course, we can never and must not rush to assumptions. And the questioning will begin. How long do the police have now to question the man in their custody, and what happens next?
They should have 24 hours from time of arrival at the first police station, so that detention clock will probably start kicking. Has already started kicking in if he's arrived at a police station within the Merseyside area. So 24 hours from then, they can apply for a further extension, superintendent first of all. Then if they need an even longer period of detention to speak to the person involved, you go to the magistrate's court for a warrant of further detention. So detention period can be much longer. I wouldn't expect a name to be given out of the person driving. I know some people like to speculate about that on social media. They haven't released the name yet. Police only release the name once the person's charged with an offence, so not while they've been arrested. So they will. I wouldn't expect a name to come out anytime soon unless charges are preferred against that individual. So again, a waiting game. But the police investigation would take as long as it takes. They would take their time to gather all the evidence. And as we've mentioned already, significant amount of CCTV cameras in the area. Loads of people watching this with mobile phones. Some from like third, fourth, fifth floor buildings looking down on it. So a significant amount of evidence they need to go through. So that will take time. And they won't rush this because they need to get any potential charges that will need to get right. So very early stages for investigation. I wouldn't expect a name to be released anytime soon, and it won't be until if an individual is charged with any offences. So no names. Already said one person's been detained, and then they'll be probably being questioned, investigated by the police.
And Graham, if I could just interject, I've just been told, we just received a statement, an eyewitness has told GB News this: I saw a car ram through people and pedestrians and then started banging on the car like, what are you doing? Then the driver reversed and sped up forwards and mowed down more people as pedestrians, police and ambulances started chasing after the car. This happened 5 feet away from me. I'm so grateful I managed to avoid it. It's terrifying to think what could have happened. Just to repeat that statement, if you're tuning into GB News Tonight, an eyewitness has just told GB News this happened 5 feet away from them. I saw a car ram through people and pedestrians and then started banging on the car like, what are you doing? Then the driver reversed and sped up forward and mowed down more people as pedestrians, police and ambulances started chasing after the car. It happened 5 feet away from me. I'm so grateful I managed to avoid it. Terrifying to think what could have happened. And Graham Wetton, coming back to you, this seems to fit the footage that we've seen. The car did go forwards, reverse, and at several points appeared to slow down as piling through a crowd. Then it reinvigorated, if you like, its forward momentum before finally coming to a stop with bodies in front of the car. The eyewitnesses then, literally feet away, banging on the vehicle, come into the stark and the grotesque realisation that they'd narrowly avoided this themselves.
Yeah, horrendous incident, and awful recollection by at least one of the witnesses there. But again, that will be one of the pieces of information, the evidence the police investigation team will look at, together with the CCTV footage to see if it matches up with what they're being told. But really key information already coming in from potential eyewitnesses to almost like the chronology and the actions of the vehicle, and potentially, without speculating, it sounds from that one witness, the vehicles at some point moved backwards and then moved forwards, which is key for the investigation team to know exactly what happened, where it happened, when it happened, and how the vehicle was being driven and controlled at that time. That forms key parts of your investigative strategy before you speak to anybody or any suspect you've got detained.
And just to repeat for those tuning in and joining us on GB News Tonight, the Prime Minister has now been alerted to the situation. The PA news agency has just announced the Prime Minister is being kept updated about events in Liverpool after a car collided with pedestrians in the city centre. So this has gone to the very top, if you like, of the command chain in the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister on full alert, and presumably Graham Wetton, that means that the full apparatus of the state will now be put in place to try and get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Full investigation team. I think Merseyside Police will probably have had a full investigation team now, if not on duty, will have been called in now to deal with this. Mal's been detained already. He's probably back at the police station by now. Slow time process to deal with like the interview procedures, establish who that Mal is, look at any investigative possibilities in his background, his motive, his intention. But I wouldn't expect much to come out of Merseyside Police in relation to that individual, either name, motive, intention, etc., anytime soon. That has to be part of a much slower investigative phase of this awful incident. The key aspect now for policing is to make sure they've got that scene secured and all those injured persons are being correctly treated, taken to hospital, and the next of kin are being visited and informed by the police. So they're not actually seeing things on screens or hearing or seeing things on social media or mobile phones, etc. So the police have to manage that aspect as well. So really challenging incident for Merseyside Police to deal with tonight. At this what was a celebration parade in Liverpool Town Centre.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us and using your expertise to comb through what we know so far. Graham Wetton, former Metropolitan Police Officer, thank you for your time. I'm now joined by Mark White, GB News' Home and Security Editor. Mark White, an incredibly concerning state of affairs. The imagery coming out very disturbing in part, appears to be a multiple collision. What do we know so far, Mark White?
Well, the very latest I'm hearing from sources is that authorities are working on the theory that this may well have been a deliberate incident, that this car was driven deliberately at those pedestrians in Water Street in Liverpool this afternoon. As you just mentioned, the Prime Minister is being kept informed of events unfolding in Liverpool. You don't get messages like that for a run-of-the-mill road traffic accident, even though, of course, there are a number of casualties. It's taken place at a high-profile, crowded event like this. All of those factors have, of course, increased the concern that authorities have. We've seen in the past, in this country and beyond, that crowded events in particular have been targeted for attack. They've been targeted because of the crowded and vulnerable nature of large groups of people together. We have had no official confirmation one way or the other, but sources telling me tonight that they are now working on the theory that this may have been a deliberate act, that vehicle was driven deliberately at pedestrians, and certainly that would seem to be be perhaps borne out by the eyewitness report you were suggesting of people banging on this vehicle, trying to get the driver to stop, but instead they saw the driver of this vehicle reverse and then move forward again at high speed. As you would imagine now, Martin, what we're seeing is a very significant emergency service response. They are well versed in rehearsing these mass casualty event scenarios. Northwest Area Ambulance, they're in our shot live on GB News. That vehicle, one of multiple ambulance resources, paramedics and other specialists who have arrived on scene to assist. And what we don't know at this stage is just quite how many people have been caught up in this. But of course, given that this was Liverpool's parade, there were many thousands of people on the street. So it would be safe to assume that we are talking about multiple casualties. And again, no word yet on just how seriously injured anyone may have been, but very worrying scenes coming from the centre of Liverpool this evening as we are looking at live pictures showing the police response, of course, but those other emergency services, ambulances that we can see, and we know that the Merseyside Fire and Rescue are involved in this incident as well, Martin.
Just to repeat, Mark White, we have a statement from the Northwest Ambulance Service, and they told GB News this. The Northwest Ambulance Service is supporting an incident in Liverpool city centre following reports of a road traffic collision, and we're currently assessing the situation and working with other members of the emergency services. Our priority is to ensure people receive the medical help they need as quickly as possible. Updates will be published on this page and Mersey Police as we know more. Mark White, it's worth just repeating for the benefit of those tuning in to GB News tonight, an incredible witness statement that we've just told GB News in this past 10 minutes from somebody who was right in the middle of this. And it's this: I saw a car ram through people and pedestrians and then started banging on the car like, what are you doing? Then the driver reversed and sped up toward and mowed down more people as pedestrians, police and ambulances started chasing after the car. This happened 5 feet away from me. I'm so grateful I managed to avoid it. It's terrifying to think what could have happened. And Mark White, this begins a complex process of piecing together evidence, eyewitness accounts. I mean, we have one widely shared clip on social media showing a car, has to be said, barrelling into multiple people, but that might only be one piece of evidence, Mark White. There may be many more before this piece of evidence, and that now begins this huge process of getting it all pieced together.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking at that same clip on social media. It's too graphic to be able to bring to our audience, but it does show this vehicle, as you say, barreling in, knocking down multiple people in one area. Now, that doesn't, as you're quite right, tell the full story, because there are people chasing after this vehicle, including people in yellow tabards, yellow vests, which signify, even though it's on the long end of the lens, that those are probably police officers chasing after this vehicle on foot. The fact that they were doing that indicates that the incident as such probably happened just a little bit earlier out of camera frame before this person started recording. And what you're seeing there is from the moment that person was recording where this vehicle came into shot. And it may well have been that eyewitness description that you mentioned of a vehicle reversing and then going forward maybe happened a bit earlier in the sequence. We can't see it on the video that I'm looking at. But clearly, it is a very, very concerning incident. And we can say at this stage that police have detained one person at the scene. Now, that will make it clearly that bit easier for the investigation going forward, because immediately on doing that. They have a suspect in custody, and what they will be doing as a matter of urgency is trying to establish who this person is with fingerprints. It doesn't, we don't know, as always, when someone's detained, how cooperative they will be with those police investigators trying to piece together exactly what's happened. But you can learn a lot from taking fingerprints, other DNA, clearly also from any kind of things like bank cards, driver's license, anything else that this person may have had on them at this point, and that hopefully will point them to this individual, who exactly they are, and whether they're someone who is known to the authorities.
And Mark White, I mentioned a short while ago the Prime Minister is being kept updated. We now have a statement from the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who's just issued these words. He says, "The scenes in Liverpool are appalling. My thoughts are with all of those injured or affected. And I want to thank the police and emergency services for their swift and ongoing response to this shocking incident. I'm being kept updated on developments and ask that we give the police the space they need to investigate." And Mark White, just picking up on something you said a short while ago, the fact that this has gone straight to the Prime Minister straight away, and Keir Starmer has issued a statement straight away, shows this is a very serious situation. Presumably that means now that the full apparatus of the state can be thrown at this to try and get to the bottom of it.
Yes, I mean, look, this is a high-profile event with multiple people attending these celebrations. So even with an accident, you would at some point get word from the Prime Minister, Home Secretary, other senior government figures. But to get that pre-prepared statement from the Prime Minister out so very quickly, of course not alluding to what the cause of this might have been, but I think it certainly rings to me of perhaps something more sinister at play. That, coupled with the fact that sources are telling me that they're working on the theory that this may well have been a deliberate incident. All the eyewitness reports seem to suggest that, coupled again with that video that it certainly shows a vehicle moving at some speed and appearing to sort of head towards sections of the crowd that were thickest in terms of individuals standing on that street itself. Lots of, from the video we're showing you here, you can see the very significant emergency service response. I think if there's one thing that is a positive in this horrible situation that's unfolding, because this was a mass spectator, a mass public event being attended by those celebrating Liverpool fans, then you will have had a very significant certainly police presence, but other members of the emergency services nearby and on standby as well, because not just from the threat of a potential attack, which of course the authorities in this country and elsewhere across Europe and the Western world are more than aware is a real and live threat. But just because when you've got large crowds of people together, there's always the possibility of a mishap, of people being injured, crush injuries, and that kind of thing in very big crowded places. So that, as I say, is one positive of an event like this, is that you have already very significant numbers of the police and emergency services in an immediate position to respond. So to get to those casualties, who we can see, at least I think some of the injured being treated by emergency services in this video we're showing you, and that means, of course, the very quick response to be able to deal with those casualties enhances the possibility, of course, of a good outcome for those being treated. The quicker you can get to them and start administering that life-saving aid, then the much better it is for the outcome of those affected.
OK, thank you, Mark White, Homeland Security Editor, for joining us. We can see their footage on the screen of people being treated at the scene. Now let's go directly to the scene. We can speak with GB News' reporter Jack Carson. Jack, you've been there throughout the day. Of course, earlier in the day, a scene of pure jubilation. Liverpool winning the Premier League. Now that's been completely put to one side. You are there reporting in a very, very different capacity. Seems like the triumph is now turning into something of a tragedy. Jack Carson, tell us about the latest from the ground.
Well, it certainly turned to shock here from that mood earlier on, and it happened, it seems, not long after the Liverpool bus parade went by the Liver building. There was huge celebration as then all the fans seemed to try to exit up from towards the docks, up back into towards the city centre. That's why there were hundreds, thousands of fans down those streets. I'm just going to step out the way so you can see the current response that we've got here. We're on Water Street here. This is the current response. We've not long just seen, in the last couple of moments, seen another Northwest ambulance service ambulance go down this road to obviously support the efforts made. You can see the serious police presence here in this police cordon, but as I said, we've just seen another ambulance go down, suggesting that there is treatment underway at the scene for those that may have been involved. To reiterate Keir Starmer's comments, he says that the scenes in Liverpool are appalling. My thoughts are with all those injured or affected, and I want to thank the police and emergency services for their swift and ongoing response to this shocking incident. He says he's being kept updated on developments, and he says that the police need the space and the time to investigate. Kim Johnson, the local MP here, says, I sincerely hope all those involved are safe and get home to their loved ones soon. And as we saw in distressing social media footage of this incident, it appears that that car seems to drive towards where the pedestrians are trying to get back into the city centre from the Liverpool Trophy parade. And as I was saying, it seemed to occur not long after that Liverpool bus walked, driven by all of the fans, and the atmosphere very quickly turning to something of shock and seemingly tragedy as well with the incident that we've got here. There are more sirens in the background. I can see what appears to be a police van coming towards us now, which would traditionally be maybe used in more riot situations with the guard on the front, but this police van arriving on the scene now. There is another police van not far behind it that's been parked up, but this police van here from Merseyside Police seemingly trying to enter the scene. Just to give you an indication of the serious response the Merseyside Police are of course giving to this incident at the moment. They said in a statement not long ago that they are aware of a road traffic collision, that they are here on the site dealing with that, and we've seen on the scene with the emergency services there are police vans, there is an ambulance service suggesting that there is treatment ongoing. Social media photos seem to suggest that there have been screens put up at the incident as well to support those paramedics and other people doing their work there. There is some anger from a lot of people around us here at how quickly the mood has changed and the tragedy that we are seemingly seeing across social media, but also at the scene with the serious emergency response here. Multiple police officers making sure that this police cordon stays in place. It has not long actually been moved forward. You could get a bit further down about 10 minutes ago, but all of the shops seemingly on this street, which is Water Street where we're on, all of the shops being emptied and this police cordon being pushed back even furthermore. And that police van that's just turned up looking to be supportive of the work that's been going on. No seem rush from that police van that's just turned up, seemingly support that's just been going on. But as we've seen from eyewitness reports as well, how the car was seemingly ramming, as one person put it, ramming through the pedestrians. Videos on social media also suggest that people were hitting the windows of that car trying to stop it, and of course rush to the aid of those people that car had gone into as well. And we stay here on the pictures with Liverpool fans get from the Liver building and still trying to walk through back into the city centre. They were going into the city centre to continue their celebrations, and all of it is now turned into the scenes we see there. There is an ambulance down there seemingly moving in a different position as well, as of course this emergency response is ongoing. We are unaware at this time of the number of people that have been involved in this incident, the number of people that are injured, what those injuries are, whether they are minor or serious injuries. But in the next few hours, I'm sure we will see with this response just how many ambulances are taken away from the scene with people, just how many police arrive on the scene as those investigations go underway. Not long ago, Martin, the man was detained at the scene. The driver was detained at the scene of that car. That'll be a big help for the police as they begin their investigations in order to be able to detain that man and take him into their custody. But emergency services seemingly moving along the road there, possibly to block our view of the response that's been going on. There are a lot of blue lights, as you can imagine, lighting up the scene where we are here, and behind us there is a huge crowd of Liverpool fans just watching on, shocked at what they have seen, shocked at what has happened on a day which was meant to be for their celebrations, to celebrate their 20th league title, to celebrate them becoming one of England's most successful clubs in English footballing history, and it is turned to the scenes you can now see in front of you, Martin.
Jack Carson, as you're live on the ground there, the evidence is coming in on social media now, additional footage which seems to corroborate the witness statement. We were told, GB News, that witness said to us, I saw a car ram through people and pedestrians, then started banging on the car like, what are you doing? The driver reversed and sped up forwards and mowed down more people as pedestrians, police and ambulances started chasing after the car. It's happened 5 feet away from me. I'm so grateful I managed to avoid it. Terrifying to think what could have happened. And Jack Carson, we're now seeing footage emerging before, seems to predate the main footage, which shows, this vehicle surrounded by furious fans battering this vehicle, which then simply accelerates and speeds up and goes further and starts ploughing through people before eventually grinding to a halt, simply can't move through the bodies in front of it. And now live pictures on our screen, we can see that vehicle being treated as a crime scene. A full forensics detail will be going through that, no doubt. And Jack, you're just down the street there from that crime scene, and what was a triumph now turning into a huge live crime scene.
That's exactly right, and there are so many people gathered around us, a lot of people just wanting to know exactly what has gone on. A lot of them, like yourself, Martin, seeing the social media footage of this incident as distressing as it is, and we believe there's also more emergency response. We can see blue lights down the road as well, and other officers, investigations, people that are part of that investigation coming in to the scene here. And as I was saying, a lot of people around us just wanting to know exactly what has gone on and really how serious many of those injuries might be, because of how they concern today. As we've been speaking to fans here celebrating their league title, they have all told us how much of being a Liverpool fan is like being part of a family. To be able to be here today celebrating their league title success when they couldn't. We apologise for the language you might be able to hear in the background, as you can hear the tension of the people and how angry they might be. But there were a lot of people describing how Liverpool and being a Liverpool fan is being like a family, because they couldn't celebrate their league title win back in 2020. Today was so much about coming together, and that is really why you can feel so much anger and probably hear it in the background, the anger from a lot of people. Like this has been an attack on one of their own, on one of their family, as this car is seemingly driven into pedestrians in the footage that we've seen online, and is quickly spreading across social media as well. This response does continue, and we're just trying to look down the road to see exactly what is happening. I believe there's more emergency services just running, moving around, and if we just come round here, you can see more police cars coming into the scene. That's a truck police 4x4 truck, and here a van that says scientific support unit on the side of it as well. But you can see here more police and emergency response coming into the scene now. This really suggesting about how quickly those police investigations are underway in order to establish the cause of this attack, in order to establish the reasons why this attack might have taken place, and the reasons why that car has done what it's done. As I say, the driver has been detained, and just to reiterate that Merseyside police statement that they've given us, they said they were contacted just after 6 p.m. today following reports a car had been in collision with a number of pedestrians on Water Street. They said the car stopped at the scene and a male has been detained. You were just mentioning a few minutes ago, Martin, the footage that you have seen on social media of just how desperate people, Liverpool fans, were to stop that car, to detain seemingly the driver themselves, smashing on the windows, doing anything they could in order to stop this vehicle. They were able to, and it is, in a sense, the amount of police that were on scene here in order to make sure that the parade itself was policed safely and policed properly, meaning that this kind of response that we're seeing now to this incident and how thorough this response is has been a lot easier in terms of the logistics for Merseyside police to be able to deploy the officers here. It has been a lot easier in the logistical term to be able to get this scene cornered off as we have seen, and also to get officers here investigating, in finding evidence and doing everything that their investigations might usually do, in collecting evidence and working out exactly what has happened here. The fans seemingly walking down from the street as siders tried to be diverted around the street as those police investigations continue. But to give you a sense of where we are, we're really not far from the Liver building at all. We're not far from where that Liverpool Trophy Parade drove by us, and there's another car coming through as well, being asked to move to the side. Another car coming through as obviously this response does continue, and people here, you know, starting to crowd and trying to wonder exactly what is going on, and plenty of people still trying to get out of that Liverpool Trophy Parade back into the city centre to the city centre as well. And just to confirm some news that we're getting in from the Press Association now, a 53-year-old white British man has been arrested after a car ploughed into a crowd of people during Liverpool Football Club's Premier League victory parade, Merseyside police have said. Just to confirm that latest statement that we've got from Merseyside police, a 53-year-old white British man has been arrested after a car ploughed into a crowd of people during Liverpool FC's Premier League victory parade, Merseyside police have said. As another emergency ambulance arrives here on the scene, and those efforts of those emergency services to attend to those people that have been involved in this incident continue. You can really see the depth of response here from the emergency services and how quickly they've moved in order to make an arrest. To confirm that breaking line from Merseyside police, a 53-year-old white British man has been arrested after a car ploughed into a crowd of people during Liverpool FC's Premier League victory parade.
Thank you, Jack Carson, for that report from the scene. We'll cross back to you for more, but we're now joined by Mark White, GB News' home and security editor. Mark, a huge amount of video evidence now emerging online seems to corroborate that statement there. A white British man, 53, has been charged.
Well, certainly arrested at this stage, Martin, yes. More video that I've seen shows the individual on the ground with police having wrestled him to the ground. It seems his face quite red. He may have been pava sprayed, that incapacitant spray in the face as well at that stage. So clearly now police will want to try to establish, one, whether this was a deliberate act. If it was a deliberate act, was it born out of some kind of anger and frustration? What the potential motivation might have been this is very early on in this investigation, but of course, as Jack Carson was showing us live in his images there, we now have, after phase 1 of the response to this incident, which is dealing with the immediate emergency, dealing with those casualties who have been caught up in this incident, you have now got those other second tier policing units heading in there to carry out the second phase of this investigation, the more protracted investigation to try to really pick up whatever evidence they can from the scene and to piece together in minute detail exactly what happened as they build a picture of those events. And they will be aided without a doubt by the many people who were there with their camera phones on, filming the event anyway and capturing the horrific incident that unfolded on camera here, as we've seen and so many people are now seeing on social media. As I said earlier, sources are working on the theory that it may have been, certainly authorities it seems are working on the theory that this may have been deliberate, but quite what, if it was deliberate, may have motivated this, we simply do not know at this stage.
Mark White, yet more footage emerging. Yeah, as you say, this white male being wrestled to the floor by police. They appear, as you say, to administer a pepper spray to his face. His hands are blooded, and a police van completely surrounded by furious Liverpool fans. The irony being, Mark White, this police officers may well have saved this driver's life.
Well, yes, I mean, a very angry crowd there. I could hear on some of the video people shouting, you know, not just stop him, but, you know, kill him. And understandably, people very enraged at what they were seeing there. I should say I've got this statement in full from Merseyside Police saying we would ask people not to speculate on the circumstances surrounding tonight's incident on Water Street in Liverpool city centre. We can confirm, as Jack was alluding to before, that a man arrested as a 53-year-old white British man from the Liverpool area. Extensive inquiries are ongoing to establish the circumstances leading up to the collision. We would ask people not to share distressing content online, but to send the footage or information directly to the Merseyside Police Control Centre. So understandably, putting out that appeal for any social media video, as I say, that can be very helpful to the police in kind of quickly piecing together exactly what happened. But to be honest, the police were there. We could see it in the video anyway. The police were there as this vehicle was ploughing into individuals. The driver was driving this vehicle, it seems, towards those people in the crowd. So police were chasing the vehicle, so their own eyes will give a good account of exactly what unfolded as well. A lot will now depend on who this person is and what he tells the police. Sometimes suspects in custody are not at all cooperative, and it can take police a while just to piece together the background of someone through identifying documents. They might have driver's license, fingerprints. If they've been in trouble with the law before, then they would be on a database. That takes just a little bit more time. But if the person is cooperative, if the person is willing to engage with the police, he can establish quite a bit more quickly. Listen, Merseyside Police will know, and they know, of course, after what happened in the incident in Southport, the need to get information out there quickly to counter a narrative that's building on social media. So I would expect we will get more proactive messages from Merseyside Police in the coming minutes and hours.
Thank you, Mark White, for bringing us up to speed. I've been Martin Daubney on GB News Tonight. I'm handing over now to Patrick Christis tonight for extended special coverage of the breaking news story in Liverpool.
It's 8 p.m. I'm Patrick Christie's with a special extended edition of Patrick Christie's Tonight, with tonight's major breaking news. On the streets of Liverpool, a man has ploughed a car through Liverpool fans celebrating their team's Premier League success. Several people are injured. Footage that is too graphic to show you suggests that some people may be very seriously injured indeed. Dozens of ambulances are on the scene. An air ambulance was present, fire crews, police everywhere. This is a major incident. The driver of the vehicle was seen careering into a crowd of people, pausing, then speeding up again before coming to a standstill. Dozens of Liverpool fans and police then swarm the car, smashing the windows and dragging the driver out. He has been arrested. As yet, the description of the driver, which has landed in the last couple of moments, is, according to police, he is a 53-year-old white British man. This is their statement in the last few moments from Merseyside Police. We would ask people not to speculate on the circumstances surrounding tonight's incident on Water Street in Liverpool city centre. We can confirm that the man arrested is a 53-year-old white British man from the Liverpool area. Extensive inquiries are ongoing to establish the circumstances leading up to this collision. A North West Ambulance Service spokesperson told us here at GB News that they are supporting an incident in Liverpool city centre following reports of a road traffic collision. We're currently assessing the situation and working with other members of the emergency services. Our priority is to ensure people receive the medical help they need as quickly as possible. Updates will be published on this page as Mersey Police, as we know more. This is an incredibly devastating incident. People, thousands, tens of thousands of Liverpool fans celebrating their team's success, only for that to turn into absolute despair and carnage. Our thoughts, of course, are with absolutely everybody who is involved. A spokesperson for the North West Air Ambulance Service as well has told us that they are on the scene. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, said, "The scenes in Liverpool are appalling. My thoughts are with all those injured or affected. I want to thank the police and emergency services for their swift and ongoing response to this shocking incident." He says that he's being kept up to date on the developments and asks that we give the police the space they need to investigate. We are going to be here for as long as it takes, frankly, for us to get the updates and the information that we all want and need on this devastating incident. I'm going to take you live to the scene now with GB News reporter Jack Carson, who is there for us. Jack, what's going on where you are?
Well, there's a lot of around us, a lot of people gathering, a lot of shock and horror at the scenes that we're seeing. Let me step out the way so you can see the emergency response that we've got here on Water Street. You can see there the police cordon that has recently, in the last 20 minutes or so, been brought forward. They've cleared some of the shops because there have been thousands of Liverpool fans trying to exit the main area by the Liver building when this incident seemingly happening not long after the Liverpool team bus actually passed all of the tens of thousands of fans that had gathered, and it was when those thousands of fans were trying to make their exit that this incident seems to have taken place. You can see the blue lights here, the emergency response. We have seen multiple ambulances go into the scene. We've also seen multiple police trucks and vans arrive on the scene since we have been there. So they are additional officers and additional members of Merseyside Police that have arrived on the scene that weren't here 20 or so minutes ago. To reiterate the statement from Merseyside Police that you read out a short while ago, Patrick, that Merseyside Police can confirm the man arrested is a 53-year-old white British man from the Liverpool area. They add in that statement that extensive inquiries are ongoing to establish the circumstances leading up to the collision. They say they would ask people not to share distressing content online, but to send that footage or information directly to the Merseyside Police as they, of course, begin these investigations. That a man has been arrested is news for the police in order to be able to ensure that those investigations can take place at a speedy, at a lot of speed. There were, of course, because of the tens of thousands of people here in Liverpool celebrating that league title win today, there was, of course, a mass police response anyway to ensure that the parade went by in a safe manner. That has allowed police to be able to get onto the scene very quickly indeed and begin those investigations at a lot of speed as well. You can see officers, we've not long ago actually had a group of officers seemingly having a briefing by someone from Merseyside Police as to the next steps. There is a fire engine down there as well that has been part of the response here, because there are tens of thousands of fans